Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Angie from Fun in 5th Grade and More, and I'm here to share with you today some of my favorite math manipulatives for the upper elementary classroom. When I first started teaching, I did a lot of book work. That's just what I was taught, and that's what I came in. They handed me the manuals, and I just started teaching the way that it was asking me to. But I found very quickly that my students weren't really retaining the information, and I needed more help getting the concept across to them. So one thing that I did is I incorporated more math manipulatives. I decided that my kids really needed that hands-on practice with manipulatives to help them really understand the concepts that we were learning about. I started incorporating those, and my students not only loved using manipulatives, but they really started understanding the concepts better. So here, I'm going to share some of my favorites. Now, we all know some math concepts can be very tricky, so make your math activities more fun by using math manipulatives. Incorporate them into your lessons and you're gonna remember the concepts better. I'm just gonna share some of my favorites with you and how I use them in the classroom. And if you wanna find out more, you can head to the links in the description. If you like this video, please make sure to subscribe, as I'm going to be posting lots more videos for the upper elementary classroom. First, we're going to talk about fractions. In my classroom, I always had a few manipulatives that helped me really demonstrate fractions for my students. One of them was, the circle fraction pieces that they can manipulate and build with circles. But I always like to have for the board these magnetic fractions that you can manipulate as you are teaching each of the standards. So these stick to the board like that, and that way you can really show students how much one fraction is compared to another, or really give them that visual representation that they need to really grasp fractions so that they can move on to the more difficult fraction standards with a better understanding of how fractions work. I also have seen fraction number line whiteboards where the number lines are already there and students just have to put the lines on them and then identify the fractions. Also, for fractions, you can use these interlocking cubes as well. You can use two different colors and show that this is 5/7 red and 2/7 green, and really discuss the different fractions that represent the colors. So that's another hands-on way that you could practice fraction with some of the manipulatives you may already have on hand. Another thing that's fun for fractions is Legos. You can kind of see equivalent fractions. So this could be 12ths, and then you put this on top and you can see that one of these and one of these, so 4 12ths plus 8 12ths equals 12 12ths. And you can use that for equivalent fractions, and students can manipulate them and really see what fractions are equivalent to each other based on the dots, or you could even do the rows or whatever. I also found these on Amazon for fractions. They basically are these interlocking cubes, but they're different sizes based on the fraction, and they even put the equivalent decimal on, so it can really help students see the relationship between decimals and fractions, as well as kind of see equivalent fractions, or they can build different fractions to see how much they have. 4/8 plus 2/8 equals 6/8, so they can build that with these. I thought they were really cool because they had all that information on them, and they even have percentages as well. The next manipulative I found, which when I started having to teach multiplication and division of fractions, I struggled with that because I really didn't know how to do it other than the standard algorithm. And so we were trying to teach them hands-on and really show them how fractions work and how multiplication of fractions work. So these cards were really great because they come in all the different fractions that you may need, especially when you're introducing. They have all the way up to 12ths. The cool thing is they have all of these clear fraction pieces as well. So these go all the way up to 12. So if you are going to multiply fractions, you can show students how 9 12ths times 1/2, when you lay them on top of each other, you can see that the answer is the part that's green. That really helps them understand that when you're multiplying this by this, you're really only going to end up with this. And I just thought those were really cool, and they could give you a hands-on way to teach students in small groups or really demonstrate in front of the classroom. If you have Elmo or something that you could display these on, I think that they would really help students understand. They really helped me actually understand multiplication of fractions better as well. I have a few other fraction ideas on my blog. If you want to check it out, I have some more math manipulatives over there, and I also have all the links to all of these and then some for your classroom, so you can check them out. Next, I'm going to talk about some geometry manipulatives I think are so important because students don't 100% understand faces and vertices and really be able to identify the differences between these different shapes and their different characteristics. For geometry, I do like to have on hand some of the different 3D shapes and different ways for them to build shapes so that they can learn and understand better what each shape is and how we're identifying the different characteristics. So one thing I thought was cool was to have on hand these different shapes. You might not have enough to have a set for each student, but these are great when you're introducing concept or you are working in small groups with students that need extra support. These would be the perfect way to really help them understand different geometric figures better. They're just nice to have on hand. I would pull them out a lot when we were working with our geometry domain. You could also have popsicle sticks on hand. They can build a lot of 2D shapes with popsicle sticks, and then you can really see the different characteristics are, and then you can have them building shapes as well. There were other 3D shapes that I saw that could become nets, and so you could lay them flat, and then students can really understand how the shape is configured because you can pull out the paper inside of it and lay it flat and look at the net and really identify those characteristics that way. And they have all kinds of different whiteboards. They have ones with the grids on them, and that way students can work with the grid and they don't have to waste time drawing it. That's nice, and so those are really helpful. Next, I'm gonna talk about numbers and operations in base 10 and some of the manipulatives that I use for those domains. So you're gonna wanna have these on hand for your students to be able to manipulate. You got your hundreds, you got your tens, we got one somewhere, we got 1,000 block. These are great for helping students conceptualize how place value works, and it really helps when you're trying to show them patterns between different place values and why we are multiplying by 10 or why we are dividing by 10 when we're doing something, because you can see visually what you're doing, and the students just love using the manipulatives. So whenever I can bring them in, I do, and it really does help them. Also are available some place value discs that you can use. They're just little circles that have the different place values on them, and they can really be used for decimals and whole numbers and kind of really be able to show that 10 of these equals one of these and show those patterns as well. So that's another option. If you have those place value discs, they're perfect for numbers and operations in base 10. When it comes to decimals in this domain, I think money is the perfect way to introduce decimals. So I made sure to have some play money. You can pick it up even at the Dollar Tree probably, and you just have some of that money on hand so you can show decimals in terms of money, which is something that they really understand. So you could show 100 pennies equals $1, which is 100 100ths, and that equals one whole. And so you can kind of really explain that a little bit and introduce it in terms they understand using money, something that you might already have play money on hand, or if not, you can usually find it pretty cheap, and it will really help your students grasp the concept of decimals when they're first being introduced. Another thing I like to have is some magnetic number cards with place value labels. I made this one, and you can grab it on the blog post all about math manipulatives. It's linked in the description. It comes with all these number cards that you can use to build numbers. You can put magnets on the back, and then it comes with all like your place value labels. So you just put magnets on them, you stick them to your board, and you can build numbers with them. And when you build the numbers, then you can talk about, you know, the different place values. You can say with the fives in the millions place, then you can know that it represents 5 million, and you can kind of show patterns between place values. Again, you can grab this totally free over on my blog. Just find the link down in the description and you can grab it and see even more math manipulative ideas over there, and I explain them further. Next, I'm going to talk about measurement domain. On the measurement domain, there's definitely some hands-on manipulatives that you need. For sure, you're going to need some sort of ruler. Protractors are great to have on hand, so I grabbed these protractors. They were really inexpensive, and you could grab a few of them for a small group. I really like these more flexible measuring tape so that students can measure all kinds of different things. These are great to have on hand, and you can get a bunch of them on Amazon for 10 bucks. So in 5th grade, we need to teach volume, so I do like to use manipulatives for volume because I think that helps solidify for the students. I use these a lot. I got these at the Dollar Tree. Whoa. I got these at the Dollar Tree, and the students love working with them, and you can stack them, you can build with them. They don't really stick to each other or anything. They're great for volume, but I know a lot of classrooms already have these interlocking cubes, which you could use to kind of look at volume as well. You could build with them, and you could try to put them together and show the volume of a figure. If you have these on hand, you really don't need to go and buy these. You can probably just use these, but it's really helpful for the students to see that one cube is one square unit and that they can kind of figure out what the volume of a 3D figure would be with a cube. That's another good one for measurement, but mainly for measurement, you're going to want rulers that show centimeters, inches, and be able to measure different things. Another thing I like to have for teaching volume and measurement, especially of liquids, is the different sizes of liquid containers, your gallon, quart, cup, pint. I think the visual representation and the way that you can fill these with the liquid and make them different colors will really help your students really understand how much liquid is in those items and how big they are compared to each other. So those are some of my favorite math manipulatives. If you have any that I didn't mention that you think I should have, please leave a comment below and I will add it to the blog post. But you can head over the blog post to find out more about each one and get all the links, and check the description. You can grab some of the links there as well. If you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe to my channel and let me know what videos you'd like to see, because I am planning on making a bunch more. Have a great day.